is a strange moment that arrives in people's lives, a moment when everything begins to go right. You land the opportunity, the relationship feels safe, life starts to flow, and then, quietly, subtly, something breaks. You miss the meeting, you snap at the person who finally sees you, you stop showing up, you overeat, you oversleep, you overthink, and then it all slips away, not because the world turned against you, but because a part of you turned against yourself. Carl Jung would call this the uprising of the unconscious, a rebellion from the shadow self, buried and long ignored. In this video, we're going to explore this hidden mechanism, why you sabotage your own growth, why peace makes you nervous, why right when you're about to cross the threshold, you step back into the familiar pain you swore you'd outgrow, and most importantly, how to finally break the pattern. Jung taught that the human psyche is like an iceberg. Only a fraction of it is visible. The rest lies beneath the surface, unseen, unspoken, and far more powerful than we imagine. This hidden part is what he called the shadow, not just your darkness, but the totality of what you had to repress to survive. That includes rage, envy, fear, but it also includes brilliance, joy, power. The shadow is formed in childhood, not through what you were told directly, but what you felt you had to hide in order to be accepted. A child who senses that being too loud is unsafe learns to quiet their voice. A child who feels ignored when they're joyful starts to dim their light. A child who sees love withdrawn when they succeed learns to fear their own greatness. So the psyche builds a defense, a safety mechanism, and this defense becomes your identity. It says, stay small and you'll be safe. Don't shine too brightly. Don't ask for too much. Don't become more than you were taught to be. And it works, until the day you try to grow, because that's when the shadow fights back. Not to punish you, but to protect the identity it thinks you still need. The sabotage isn't loud. It's silent, subtle. A delayed reply, a skipped commitment, a wave of anxiety in a moment of stillness. The shadow is not malicious, it's terrified. Terrified that your new life, the one you've earned, will end the same way things ended back then. So it stops you before that happens, and it whispers, don't trust this piece, it's not real. They'll leave if you show your real self. Better to destroy it now than be abandoned later. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the emotional contracts we make in childhood, and how they quietly define what we allow ourselves to receive. We all carry invisible contracts, unspoken rules, silent agreements. Jung called these complexes, emotional patterns that take root in the unconscious and play out like scripts. You didn't choose these scripts. They were shaped by experience, emotion, and survival. If love in your home was scarce, you learned not to ask for more. If success made others uncomfortable, you learned to underachieve. If safety meant blending in, you learned to disappear. And these lessons didn't end in childhood. They evolved. They became the framework of your adult life. You call it being realistic. You call it not wanting to be selfish. But the truth is, you're still obeying the rules of a story that's no longer true. So when you get close to love, you push it away. When abundance finds you, you spend it all. When your dream job finally appears, you hesitate. Because receiving it fully would mean violating the old pact. The pact that said, you don't get to have this. But here's the truth. You're not broken. You're loyal. Loyal to an outdated identity. Loyal to a version of yourself that helped you survive, but cannot help you thrive. And that loyalty is not weakness. It's fear. Fear of betraying your past. Fear of standing out. Fear of taking up space in a world that once told you to shrink. In the next chapter, we'll explore how this fear hides in everyday life, how self-sabotage wears ordinary disguises, and how to begin spotting it before it takes control. Self-sabotage rarely looks like sabotage. It looks like logic, like responsibility, like modesty, like being too tired. But under the surface, it's fear. Fear of expansion, fear of attention, fear of change. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. You say, I just need more time. But that time becomes a graveyard of intentions. And the moment the right path opens, you veer off. You convince yourself it's the wrong time, the wrong opportunity, the wrong partner. But the truth is, it's exactly right. You're just not used to right lasting, because the unconscious only trusts the familiar. And if the familiar is struggle, success will feel like a threat. This is why some people get physically ill after moments of joy, why peace can trigger anxiety, why we seek chaos when things get too calm. The shadow confuses joy with danger. It confuses thriving with betrayal. It says, if you grow too much, you'll be abandoned. If you shine too brightly, you'll be attacked. If you finally succeed, you'll have to leave people behind. And so it pulls you back, with fear, with guilt, with logic. But logic cannot free you from an emotional prison. Only awareness can. And in the next part, we'll talk about what it takes to make this unconscious sabotage conscious, so you can choose a different path. Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. That's because real change requires you to confront the parts of yourself you've avoided, not to judge them, but to understand them. The shadow doesn't want war. It wants attention. It wants to be heard, to be acknowledged, to be reintegrated into the whole. Because until you meet your shadow, you are not whole. You are fractured, living as half of yourself, suppressing the other half that you were taught to fear. So how do you stop sabotaging? You begin by noticing. You catch the pattern when it starts. When you feel the urge to cancel, to hide, to run, you pause. And instead of acting, you ask, what am I afraid to receive? What part of me doesn't feel safe right now? Whose belief am I still carrying? Then you breathe. And you remind yourself, it is safe to grow now. It is safe to be seen. Each time you do this, you rewire your nervous system. You show it that love doesn't mean loss, that success doesn't mean danger, and slowly the part of you that once sabotaged begins to soften. In the final chapter, we'll explore what it means to step fully into your wholeness, to not just visit the life you want, but finally stay there. You were never too much. You were never too ambitious, too sensitive, too weird, too loud, too anything. You were simply never taught how to hold your light. So you learned to dim it, to shrink, to soften your edges, to self-destruct before anyone else could. But that's not who you really are. That was the mask. And now, it's time to take it off. Jung called this process individuation, becoming a whole, integrated self. Not perfect, not enlightened, not untouchable, just real, capable of holding joy without guilt, love without fear, success without sabotage. And the only thing standing between you and that life is the old version of you who doesn't believe it's possible. But you're here now. You've seen the pattern. You've felt the edge. And maybe, just maybe, you're ready to step past it. Not for a moment, not for a weekend high, but forever. So when the joy comes again, don't run. When the opportunity returns, don't sabotage it. When love knocks, open the door. You don't have to self-destruct anymore. You're not broken, you're becoming. If this message awakened something inside you, comment below, I am ready to hold my success. Say it, write it, feel it. And if you're walking this path of shadow work, growth, and inner truth, subscribe to the channel. This is not just content, it's a journey, and it's only just begun. Let's keep walking it together.